So the sharing economy is in many ways a euphemism for a lot of these technology platforms that you might indeed even have in your own phone. The intent of it was that you could take underutilized assets and share them. And so an easy example is Uber. So Uber, which is a company that's raised $15 billion and has a private market valuation of about $60 billion as of December 2016, uses a model where essentially people that want to go somewhere for transportation will employ the services of a part-time driver that tends to own their own car. And so in essence, that driver is sharing their asset, all right, with others. Is that truly a sharing economy? I mean, that's a good question, right? So you might want to look at, say, Airbnb. So Airbnb is not necessarily a similar model, but a related model that talks about housing. So if I want to go to Singapore, or if I want to go to New York or Paris, and I was looking for a place to stay, I have one choice. I can stay in a hotel, or I can stay in someone's home. And either I can rent out a room in that home, or I can rent out the whole flat. Whatever I would like to do. And Airbnb markets it this way as you're joining a community. So you're joining a local community, you'll find someone that's local that's going to help you around the neighborhood. In essence, you're sharing what they have. You're sharing that local community. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, if you look at these companies, they're very large technology companies that have raised a lot of money. And like most things that you have on your phone, whether it be Google or Facebook, Instagram or Snapchat, they're going to look like monopolies, because the network effects are so profound. That is that the more people that are on the supply side, there are more people on the demand side, and vice versa. And so the more drivers that Uber has, right, the more consumers are going to flock there, because they know that they're going to have a choice of 4 or 5 cars. They're never going to wait more than a minute or two. And these companies know that. So Uber, for example, is subsidizing drivers and subsidizing riders to build up this critical network effect. But in doing so, all these companies are moving towards a monopoly. And you start to see this, for example, in Uber, which in some countries where they've already reached a saturation point, are able to raise their take of what the drivers make. And so drivers are now starting to complain. So drivers that at first were very happy about sharing their car because they get an extra source of income are now saying, oh my gosh, you're driving down my income, because they have market power. And so that's now a very contested issue. We'll see how that plays out, and I'm sure it will vary by country. So sharing economy companies actually are very good for consumers by and large. Consumers generally come out the winner. Why? They generally get lower prices. They get quicker services. They can live in an on-demand world. Consumers are probably less likely to have to own a car, for example, with the rise of Uber and Lyft. Even medium-sized cities are beginning to realize that it's cheaper to give vouchers for car services like Uber than it is to build out tram routes, all right, or even to subsidize bus routes. So on the positive side, consumers are benefiting. On the potential downside, what you find is it's very difficult for workers. And this is where companies will need to decide what they want to do. In particular, because it's an on-demand service, it works because people are willing to work part-time. But as people begin to work part-time and don't see an increase in wages, they're going to start to say, okay, well, I want benefits. And this is going to vary by country. And it's also going to vary by regional level or provincial level, and also even at a city level. And you start to see that now. And so there will be increasing tension in the system. So is it a net gain for most places? It really depends on what the set of the ordering of preferences are for society. So some countries that preference consumer gain over anything else, like the United States, for example, the UK, will definitely say that it's a net winner. It's a very innovative model. Countries like Germany or Japan that say that actually we have pretty good services now in a regulated fashion. And it's not necessarily all about the cheapest price, but it's about kind of giving opportunity for people to work and earn a reasonable living. I won't use the word fair because it's really hard to define the word fair, but we'll say reasonable living. Have a different take on it.